Welcome to Easy Law Online. This is Attorney Chato Olivas. In this video, we will talk about the provisions of the rules on criminal procedure about complaint and information. What is a complaint? A complaint is a sworn written statement charging a person with an offense subscribed by the offended party, any peace officer, or other public officer charged with the enforcement of the law violated. So here you see that a complaint is a sworn written statement, and then it is subscribed by the offended party, peace officer, or other public officer charged with the enforcement of the law violated. And this is how we distinguish a complaint from an information. So let us see. The next slide defines an information. An information is an accusation in writing, charging a person with an offense, subscribed by the prosecutor and filed with a court. So, note the differences. Who subscribes? A complaint is subscribed by the private offended party or the public peace officer or a public officer in charge with the enforcement of the law violated. An information is subscribed by the public prosecutor. Where is it filed? An information is filed in court after preliminary investigation, while a complaint is filed with the prosecutor's office or with the first level courts for purposes of preliminary investigation. And what is the purpose? Well, that is already, I just mentioned it. The information is for the purpose of trial, is for the purpose of, well, since it's filed in court, that precedes the trial, and it is for the purpose of determining whether the accused is guilty or not of the offense charged, whereas a complaint is filed for the purpose of preliminary investigation. Now, instituting criminal actions by complaint. As a general rule, the complaint is filed directly with the prosecutor's office or the first level courts. As an exception, in Metro Manila and other chartered cities, file it with the prosecutor's office. Here are important points. The complaint is filed for purposes of preliminary investigation or PI. PI may be conducted either by the public prosecutor or the first level courts. Only certain cases are to be subjected to preliminary investigation. Ito yung mga cases where the penalty prescribed by law is 4 years, 2 months, and 1 day. Kaya ang numbers na tatandaan ninyo ay 4 to 1. And then also, in case of warrantless arrest, there is no preliminary investigation. Instead, what we have is an inquest investigation. Let's talk about the sufficiency of a complaint or information. Section 6 states, a complaint or information is sufficient if it states the name of the accused, the designation of the offense given by the statute, the acts or omissions complained of as constituting the offense, the name of the offended party, the approximate date of the commission of the offense, and the place where the offense was committed. And then it also provides when an offense is committed by more than one person, all of them shall be included in the complaint or information. So itong mga words na naka-underline, name of the accused, designation of the offense given by statute, acts or omissions complained of, name of the offended party, date, place, ito yung mga i-discuss in subsequent provisions. So let's go to section 7, name of the accused. According to this provision, the complaint or information must state the name and surname of the accused or any appellation or nickname by which he has been known or is known. If his name cannot be ascertained, he must be described under a fictitious name with a statement that his true name is unknown. And if the true name is thereafter disclosed by him or appears in some other manner to the court, such true name shall be inserted in the complaint or information and record. So ito, ang ideal situation, the name and surname of the accused must be stated. Kasama na rin yung middle name. Okay? So that is the ideal situation. But then, if the name and surname of the accused is Not known pero alam ang kanyang nickname or alias. Iyon ang pwedeng gamitin dun sa complaint or information. Kung hindi alam yung kanyang alias o yung kanyang nickname, pwede siyang i-describe under a fictitious name. Usually, ang ginagamit dito ay John Doe. And then, pag nalaman na ang kanyang tunay na pangalan, iyon ay ilalagay sa record ng court at saka ilalagay din yon sa complaint or information. Tingnan natin ang kaso ng People versus Romeo Padica y Lorica. Dito sa case na to, the name of the accused in the information was Leonardo Marajas. He was arraigned under this name. Later on, his true name, Leon Marajas Jr., was inserted in the information. The subsequent amendment to insert in the information Leon Marajas Jr.'s real name involved merely a matter of form, as it did not in any way deprive the appellant of a fair opportunity to present his defense. Moreover, the amendment neither affected nor altered the nature of the offense charged, since the basic theory of the prosecution was not changed, nor did it introduce new and material facts. Such an amendment is explicitly allowed under the second paragraph of Section 7 in relation to Section 14, Rule 110 of the Rules of Court. So, ang mahalagang tandaan dito, hindi magbabago ang nature of the charge kapag inamend yung information in order to reflect the true name of the person, the true name of the accused. That is an amendment, but that is not a major amendment, and so it is allowed. Now let's go to the next section, which is the designation of the offense. According to this provision, the complaint or information shall state the designation of the offense given by the statute, over the acts or omissions constituting the offense, and specify its qualifying and aggravating circumstances. If there is no designation of the offense, reference shall be made to the section or subsection of the statute punishing it. So yung designation of the offense, sasabihin, ano bang klaseng crime yung nakomit? Is it falsification of public document? Or is it arson? Is it murder? Ilalagay yon dun sa complaint or information. Kaya lang, ang mas mahalaga kaysa dun sa complaint, kaysa dun sa designation of the offense, are the acts or omissions constituting the offense. Kasi yun talaga ang magde-define ano ba talaga yung charge against the accused. Yung averments ang mahalaga, including the qualifying and aggravating circumstance. Section 9, cause of the accusation. The acts or omissions complained of as constituting the offense and qualifying and aggravating circumstances must be stated in ordinary and concise language, not necessarily in the language used in the statute, but in terms sufficient to enable a person of common understanding to know what offense is being charged, as well as its qualifying and aggravating circumstances, and for the court to pronounce judgment. Some important points about this provision. So, ang mahalaga sabihin ano yung ginawa ng akusado, ano yung hindi ginawa ng akusado, and these are the acts and omissions constituting the offense. Dapat ilagay din ang qualifying and aggravating circumstances. Pero, in what language? Not in the language of the law. Nakalagay dito mismo sa Section 9. This must be stated in ordinary and concise language, not necessarily in the language used in the statute, but in terms sufficient to enable a person of common understanding to know what the offense is being charged. So, ang standard dito, dun sa language ng information or complaint, is the standard of a person of common understanding. Dapat naiintindihan niya. And this is from the point of view of the accused. Dapat din nakalagay ano yung qualifying and aggravating circumstances. Bakit? Para makapaghanda yung akusado, para maintindihan niya ano ba talaga yung charge sa kanya and ano yung mga tamang depensa na dapat niyang erase. Of course, with the assistance of counsel. So tingnan natin yung 2020 case of Omar Villarba versus Court of Appeals and People. The allegations in the information are vital because they determine the real nature and cause of the accusation against an accused. They are given more weight than a prosecutor's designation of the offense in the caption. Ito yung kaninang provision na diniscuss natin. May designation of the offense in the statute pero mas mahalaga yung acts and omissions alleged in the information as having been committed or not committed by the accused. Let's now look at People versus XYZ, a 2022 case. The rules of court require that the elements of the crime, as well as the qualifying and aggravating circumstances, must be alleged in the information. The rules require the qualifying circumstances to be specifically alleged in the information in order to comply with the constitutional right of the accused to be properly informed of the nature and cause of the accusation against him. The purpose is to allow the accused to prepare fully for his defense to prevent surprises during the trial. So ito talaga ay constitutional right. Ang criminal procedure is intended to enforce the constitutional right of the accused. And this provision is very clear. Ito yung isa sa mga makikita nyo that this is in support of the constitutional rights of the accused. Sabi pa dun sa case, qualifying circumstances must be properly pleaded in the indictment. If the same are not pleaded and proved, they shall be considered only as aggravating circumstances, since the latter admit of proof even if not pleaded. In the case of People versus Mendoza, a 2002 case, the crime was considered simple rape only, although it was committed with a deadly weapon because the information did not make that allegation. So ganito kaimportante ang allegations in the information. Section 10. Place of the commission of the offense. The complaint or information is sufficient if it can be understood from its allegations that the offense was committed or some of its essential ingredients occurred at some place within the jurisdiction of the court, unless the particular place where it was committed constitutes an essential element of the offense charged or it's necessary for its identification. So general rule, hindi kailangan ilagay yung specific place kung saan nangyari yung crime. Kailangan lang mapakita dun sa information or complaint that it happened, the elements happened within the territorial jurisdiction of the court. Pero may mga pagkakataon na kailangan ilagay yung lugar because that is an element of the offense. So I have listed down here some of the uh, offenses in which the specific place must be stated. We have violation of domicile. We have penalty on the keeper, watchman, visitor of an opium den. We have trespass to dwelling, theft of property of National Museum and Library, and violation of election law, prohibiting the carrying of a deadly weapon within a 100-meter radius of a polling place. Date of the commission of the offense. It is not necessary in the complaint or information to state the precise date the offense was committed, except when it is a material ingredient of the offense. The offense may be alleged to have been committed on a date as near as possible to the actual date of its commission. Kaya pag tinignan ninyo yung mga information, hindi binibigay ang exact date. Nilalagay on or about a given date. For example, on or about June 15, 2023. This is allowed. Okay? Kasi may reference point ka sa kung saan nangyari, kung kailan nangyari. Pero kapag masyadong broad, hindi yun allowed. That will be void. For example, ang naka-allege na commission of the crime is on or about 1992. Sobrang broad yun kasi pwedeng kasama yung 1991. Pwede rin kasama yung years before all the years before 1992 or all the years after 1992. So it does not meet the requirement of particularity. Now, when is the date a material ingredient of the offense? Violation of the gun ban during election period, infanticide, which requires the child to be less than 3 days old, delay in the delivery of detained persons to the proper judicial authorities, where the time for filing of information is 12, 18, and 36 hours. Now, name of the offended party. The complaint or information must state the name and surname of the person against whom against whose property the offense was committed, or any appellation or nickname by which such person has been or is known. If there is no better way of identifying him, he must be described under a fictitious name. So ito, tingnan natin. Similar to the name of the offender or the accused, the ideal situation is that the complete name and surname of the offended party must be stated. Kaya lang kung hindi alam yung complete name and surname, pwede rin yung any appellation or nickname like an alias, if there is no other way of identifying him. And then the provision states, in offenses against property, if the name of the offended party is unknown, the property must be described with such particularity as to properly identify the offense charged. If the true name of the person against whom or against whose property the offense was committed is thereafter disclosed or ascertained, the court must cause such true name to be inserted in the complaint or information and the record. Ganun din pagdating sa pangalan ng akusado. If the offended party is a juridical person, it is sufficient to state its name or any name or designation by which it is known or by which it may be identified without need of averring that it is a juridical person or that is organized in accordance with law. Under Section 13, duplicity of offense, a complaint or information must charge but one offense except when the law prescribes a single punishment for various offenses. So, ang rule of thumb natin, one complaint, one offense. One information, one offense. Now, why is it prohibited to allege several offenses in one information? Because it is prohibited because that will prevent the accused from uh, understanding ano ba yung eksaktong charge against him and will prevent him from sufficiently preparing for his defense. Okay? So dapat isang offense lang para makapag-prepare yung akusado ng mabuti ng kanyang defense. Now, so what is not allowed under the case of People versus De Los Santos? One information charges the accused with multiple murder, multiple frustrated murder, and multiple attempted murder. Now, sabi dito, except when the law prescribes as one punishment for two or more offenses. This refers to complex crimes. Article 48 of the Revised Penal Code states when a single act constitutes two or more crimes, or when an offense is a necessary means for committing the other, the penalty for the most serious crime shall be imposed, the same to be applied in its maximum period. So, for example, we have forcible abduction with rape, estafa through falsification of documents. What is the remedy of the accused if there are two or more offenses charged in one complaint or information? The remedy is to file a motion to quash. And what happens if the accused does not file a motion to quash? The objection is waived and he can be convicted of as many offenses as are charged and proved. Okay, so when do you file a motion to quash? You file it before arraignment. After arraignment, hindi na pwedeng mag-move to quash. So he can be charged he can be penalized with as many offenses as are proved during the trial. Let's now talk about amendments or substitution. A complaint or information may be amended in form or substance without leave of court at any time before the accused enters his plea. So dalawang klaseng amendment. Amendment that is in form or amendment that is in substance. Basta before the accused enters his plea, the amendment may be made either in form or in substance. Pero kapag nag-enter na ng plea, hindi na pwedeng mag-move for amendment that easily because the next paragraph states, after the plea and during the trial, a formal amendment may only be made with leave of court and when it can be done without causing prejudice to the rights of the accused. However, any amendment before plea which downgrades the nature of the offense charged in or excludes any accused from the complaint or information can be made only upon motion by the prosecutor with notice to the offended party and with leave of court. The court shall state its reasons in resolving the motion, and copies of its order shall be furnished all parties, especially the offended party. If it appears at any time before judgment that a mistake has been made in charging the proper offense, the court shall dismiss the original complaint or information upon the filing of a new one charging the proper offense in accordance with Section 19, Rule 119, provided the accused shall not be placed in double jeopardy. The court may require the witnesses to give bail for their appearance at the trial. Now, I have to mention that when the accused enters a plea, jeopardy sets in, and that is when the accused can no longer be charged with the same offense. So ito yung nabanggit dito, yung double jeopardy. So if there is an amendment, if the accused will be subjected to double jeopardy, dahil yung amendment ay substantial at ginawa after he entered his plea, that will not be allowed. And then also, if there is a substitution, such as mentioned in this particular provision, if that will result in double jeopardy, that will not be allowed also. That ends our video on complaint and information. See you next time.